It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Pros, ends yes! Caught! Touchdown! Did he get it?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in. Happy Friday. Happy summer solstice to everyone who celebrates. It's the Full Court Press on a Friday here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, streaming on 1069thefan.com and the 1069 The Fan mobile app. Free for you and easy to find, whether it's in real time or after the fact when it's convenient to you. The podcast feed available on our website and on our podcast, on our mobile app, but also wherever you subscribe to podcasts. And if you want to chime in and want to be a part of the show today, we always invite you to text in on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 435-339-0321. Variety of different topics on this Friday afternoon here on the Full Court Press. We're talking about lawsuits, poaching, new coaches, but kind of old coaches. Yeah. And NBA Finals, the two best words in sport, Game 7. And we're going to have one in the NBA Finals.
It's been a minute, too.
It has been a little while, so it's we're due, and hopefully it's a good one. So a lot of different topics here on the Full Court Press, but if you want to chime in on any of it, 435-339-0321 to be a part of the show today. But we're going to lead off with, there's been a lot of coaches who make claims that we're going to name names when it comes to tampering.
I don't think they say they're going to name names.
I've heard coaches say, we will name names, and I wait to see who they are going to name, and then they never do.
Because I've always heard, like, somebody tampered or somebody got offered this. They always say that there were offers, and they talk about how the players will, like, share it with them. But I hadn't noticed anybody saying they're going to name names yet.
I have heard coaches say this because they're upset that they put time and energy and resources into developing players only to see them leave to go to another program. And then they have to start all over again, and they start getting frustrated like, oh, there's tampering, there's stuff going on behind closed doors, and we're going to let people know who it is. And we're all put our hands up like, okay, who is it? Who? Name names. Let's do this. Well, finally, somebody has come out and not just named names, but they filed a lawsuit to this effect. And so this has been going on for a long time, where players who are under scholarship, who are committed to their whatever destination school they're at, get contacted through various means, even if they're not in the transfer portal. So if they're not in the transfer portal, legally, you're not supposed to be contacting them to try to persuade them to leave to come join you at your destination.
Yeah, and obviously this kind of stuff had been happening for decades in terms of just regular recruiting, but obviously it gets way worse now in the portal era where you can get a guy immediately, like you're not done with your season. You can reach out and be like, hey, you want to come join our team when bowl season ends? You want to jump in the portal real quick and you can come to our school.
Right. So they were inducing players into the portal rather than just recruiting them out of the portal. And so finally, the University of Wisconsin has had enough, and they filed a lawsuit today claiming Miami has broken the law when it comes to tampering and trying to get a player to leave Wisconsin to go to Miami. They have finally issued a lawsuit claiming tampering, and it's reached the highest levels of the Power Four, and they're getting the courts involved on this.
Yeah, and this was an interesting case to begin with. I don't know if we went over it too much on our show when it happened, because it was like back in, I want to say January, February, where so it's about Xavier Lucas, defensive back, was with Wisconsin, and signed one of these, signed a multi-year contract, NIL contract. So this isn't like just some regular old, what's it, the the thing you sign to enroll. What's the
letter of intent?
Yeah, the letter of intent, or all those different contracts you normally have with enrolling with the university. It wasn't like that. It was like an NIL contract, basically an employment contract, but not an employment contract. They're not employees. They're not employees.
That's right. They're not employees. Do not use that term.
But basically, that's what they were trying to treat it as, and that seems to be legally, in terms of the intent of this lawsuit, may be that. But not only was there that fact that there was this NIL contract, it was also the fact that Lucas transferred without entering the portal. Just left Wisconsin and then enrolled at Miami. Didn't ever officially enter the portal. Just left and went somewhere else. And it was like, can they do that? It's like, wait, man, I guess he can. The NCAA, I think they were asked, and they were like, and nothing we can do about it. He just left with like, you can legally just leave school.
Yeah, there's nothing that binds you to continue to go to school and show up at practices.
Yeah, but then Miami allows him on to their team and to their school, gets enrolled at Miami, and so he didn't enter the portal, just left. So it was weird in that sense, and luckily, at least so far, doesn't seem to have set a precedent for other players to just leave without entering the portal. But yeah, that was another aspect of this that was a little confusing, was that Xavier Lucas didn't even enter the portal, at least according to the reports. So that was already interesting enough, but it also seemed pretty blatant that there was tampering involved, and Wisconsin cried foul at the time and are now legally crying foul.
Yeah. Well, according to an article in ESPN reporting on this, so the contracts between Wisconsin and their athletes give the school non-exclusive rights to use a player's NIL in promotions. And part of the deal, according to the lawsuit, prohibits an athlete from making any commitments to enroll or play sports at other schools. So the lawsuit is saying that Wisconsin had this expectation, a reasonable expectation, that Lucas would continue to be part of the Wisconsin Badger family and play football.
So it's basically a non-compete clause, where I forget.
Sort of. It's not. They make it clear this is not pay for play. They're not getting paid to play for the university, but they are getting paid for activities being associated with being a member of the football team.
And if you're going to, honestly, to me, if you're going to put that kind of stuff in the contract, like that kind of stuff should be in contracts with players in college football these days. But if you're going to put that crap in a contract, start calling them employees, because that's what they are.
Right. Yeah. That's you've got bargaining rights. You should have all these other things that come with being employees. So just call it what it is.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things where, like, the NCAA wants to start implementing some of these things. I think they'd love to see some kind of a contract link. I think that's maybe the next thing they're going to try and tackle, is finding a way around transfers like every single year. Because I think they're recognizing that fans are getting really fed up with that, because it's impacting
coaches are getting fed up.
Coaches are getting fed up with it. And so I think they're going to try and enforce that. And it may be like paving the way for multi-year contracts. That, rolling those out among college sports may be the way to get around that, to where players either stay around because they're under contract, revenue sharing contract now, or there'll be a buyout system, which would be okay. I think that would be a good substitute for, just completely restricting player freedom, which they can't at this point.
Yeah.
They've already lost that battle.
Right. And I'm in favor of the buyout system. If you're a smaller school and you're investing time and energy and resources to develop these players, just to have them walk, you have to start all over from scratch. Usually you're taking a flyer on somebody who's not quite as proven, and you have to work extra hard, get them in the gym, study film. Not that these things aren't happening at these other institutions, but in other places at higher levels, they're getting players who are already at a certain level athletically or trained or skilled, and then they build on that. But if it really is going to continue to be a minor league type of system that will continue to perpetuate, it's like minor leagues within the same league, which is weird, but that's kind of how it's being developed.
Yeah, it's almost like if you had some of these, like you look at soccer, you look over in Europe, like basically imagining that the Premier League and, some other lower division league were like all in the same league, even though a lot of those major European leagues, like they'll buy up and coming prospects from other teams. Happens all the time. If it's, a lot of times they're in their development programs, but they'll buy these up and coming players. But yeah, they're in different leagues typically. So it is kind of weird that you have essentially an upper and lower division within FBS. But yeah, the buyout system works real well because you do get rewarded for developing a player.
Yeah.
Even if he leaves. Because, the power conference schools, they have the money to throw at all the best recruits. But then when they miss on recruits, then, they have even more money to go throw at somebody that somebody else developed. When the power conferences schools fail, they have money to bail themselves out of their own bad decisions. But don't punish the smaller schools who made good decisions by then robbing them blind. At least pay them for, doing your work for them. And it would essentially function as a small wealth transfer.
Yeah. And you could even have places where you have relationships with certain schools, maybe even. If you're Alabama, look, we don't have a spot for you right now. Go to UAB and spend some time there. And then after a year or two, transfer over to us, and we'll have a spot for you.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever see that. I think the only way we'd see that is FCS to FBS. But, yeah, I'd have a hard time seeing true minor league, develop our prospects for us type thing.
Yeah, there's high risk that player may develop beyond what they were anticipating, and he could end up going anywhere.
Yeah, it's true. So, yeah, I don't know if we'd go that far. But, yeah, buyouts and things like that work. But back to this thing with, what Wisconsin's trying to do. Like, they're trying to implement this kind of multi-year contract. But I don't know if the NCAA is going to be able to pull off what they want. Because, again, the thing that the NCAA is trying to do is they're trying to regain control of everything. They completely lost control of the NCAA, of the schools. The NCAA governing body lost complete control or any control of football and men's basketball. Because they literally died on the hill of this is amateur sports and we're not going to let anything through. And they died on that hill. They got a freaking nuke dropped on them, legally speaking. But now they're trying to revive themselves. The House settlement, and now they're begging Congress, like begging hands and knees, like we will do literally anything you want. Please pass some federal law that gives us all the control that we want. And I've skimmed through the bill that's currently being passed around. It's not been formally introduced, but it's being passed around and looked at and discussed in committees. And yeah, it has most of the NCAA's wish list. First and foremost, don't make him employees. Different antitrust protections, things like that, and a small list of other things, really important things. But it's all coming at the cost of they're trying to take a shortcut. They're trying to have all of the protections and stability measures that the NBA and NFL have without empowering the players in the way that the NFL and NBA has. Like, if you're going to force those restrictions on them, you have to concede certain things. But much like for the last 50, 60, however many years, college sports has been a big financial moneymaker. The NCAA is trying to prevent players from being empowered. They're trying to cut them out of the process. They're unwilling to give them like basic things like players unions, protections for like injuries, things like that, long-term health coverage for playing a violent sport. Mm-hmm. So it's why I always come back to collective bargaining. Like, the NCAA is doing everything it can to avoid that process, but it's stuff like this that kind of, it makes me wonder, like, is the NCAA eventually going to pull off that, kind of coup d'etat, essentially, where they get to legally have all the power they want? Because before it stood on a house of cards, everyone just went along with it. Then somebody challenged it and it fell over immediately. Can they reestablish that, but with an actual backbone to it? But in the end, it's events like this where we're seeing that journey. like the different problems that keep cropping up. And we just got to because this isn't going to be how they solve. We're not going to have lawsuits every time somebody's poached. But something I said on social media, and I know I'm rambling here really badly, but
it's about setting precedent.
Setting precedent, but this isn't going to be the complete precedent. It's the sign that things still need to change.
A couple of texts coming through on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line 9315. Lawsuit to help stop poaching. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's where I think it's where it needs to go.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's the sign. And I know I rambled for 5 minutes, but I'm going to go on it again. But this isn't how things are going to get solved. It's the sign that people at the power conference level are fed up. And it's what's going to lead to change. And you can have all the concerns about whether or not they're going to involve collective bargaining, whether or not they're going to have proper contracts and protections for athletes. But when power conferences were poaching the group of 6, a group of 5, they were okay with it because they were benefiting from it. But now they're getting poached to themselves. Universities that have more NIL to spend, like BYU, they've been poaching a bunch of people. The football, Big Ten and SEC, they've been poaching each other and all that. But this is a sign that people are getting fed up with it.
Well, even Wisconsin in their release say when they filed this, they say, while we reluctantly bring this case.
Yeah, bull crap. You didn't reluctantly
We stand by our position that respecting and enforcing contractual obligations is essential to maintaining a level playing field. The reason they're reluctant to bring the case is because they have to be concerned that it could be used against them. That's why no one names names on poaching and messing around with what happens in the portal and transfers, because everybody does it. Everybody's been subjected to it at one level or another. A couple of the texts coming through 8968. Tampering? Never. Just like players have never been paid before.
Yeah, basically.
It's true. And then 9952. Easy fix. Athletes are independent contractors under contract, issued 1099 miscellaneous for tax purposes. If athletes leave, they return a prorated amount of money back to the school they're leaving. They can't cash in from both schools at full compensation.
And so that's something the players have been doing, because obviously they've been really empowered by this whole system. They'll take money from one school, like they get an NIL up front, and then they leave. Like in football, they get an NIL payout at the beginning of the year, then they leave in the spring window, get another NIL payout. So some people were kind of getting gamed by that, or some schools were getting gamed by that, which fair enough. They were exploiting the athletes for decades, so I'm not exactly sad for them in that case. But yeah,
organizations like the Blue A Collective would say this is the amount of money that's available to you, but it's not going to be released in one lump sum.
Yeah.
There are certain benchmarks, certain time windows that have to pass for you to be able to access those funds.
Yeah, and that's generally been the solution. And I mean, what 9952 says, being independent contractors, fair enough. That's a solution. I don't know if it's my preferred solution, but it's a solution. I tend to just look toward, call them what they are. They're employees. I was going to say I don't know why the NCAA is so uptight about it, but I know exactly why they're so uptight about it. It's because they have to actually give things to employees and insure them and all these different things.
Right.
They have to spend money. They actually have to try to take care of the athletes. Heaven forbid they actually attempt to fulfill their goal of taking care of the athletes.
We need to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. Still more to get in. Love to continue to get your feedback on this lawsuit filed by Wisconsin against Miami about poaching and the effects that could have throughout college sports, not just for football, though this was a football-related case. We'll also get into some news from Utah State. Some good news, some new assistant coaches for Utah State men's basketball, and their familiar faces. So we'll introduce you to them. And the NBA Finals continue. We're going to have a Game 7 this weekend. We'll talk about what happened in Game 6 and to hear from the coaches and players coming up on the Full Court Press.
Do you have a fireplace or stove that isn't working right? Why wait until next winter to get it fixed? Get ahead of the game and get your fireplace or stove serviced now by Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They service everything from Quadra-Fire pellet stoves to heat and glow fireplaces. Get a 20% discount on your next service and labor when you mention this ad. Call 752-7272 or go to advancedfireplaceandstove.com. Advanced Fireplace and Stove, where comfort is their business.
Essie Needham Jewelers has been helping couples celebrate their anniversaries for more than a century. When you present her a piece of diamond jewelry in an Essie Needham box, it says you are committed to taking care of her forever. We absolutely stand behind our jewelry, our prices, and our service. We always have and always will. This anniversary, give the gift of diamond jewelry. A diamond from Essie Needham Jewelers says that you plan on being there for the rest of her life, just like we will be. Essie Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice. As I visit with people on a regular basis, I see many things we can help with. Recent falls, balance training, knee, shoulder, and hip surgeries, memory loss, housekeeping, help with medications, and that's not all. We at Primrose offer the best care in any situation. A great example of this is our preventative care program. While working with your doctor and using our personal approach, we can help prevent many of these situations. For more explanation, visit primrosecare.com or call me at 787-1369. Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
Markets are unpredictable, but reaching your financial goals shouldn't be. Adams Wealth Advisors is dedicated to helping you navigate these challenges and ensure you're prepared for every outcome. Whether your financial plan revolves around advanced tax planning, estate planning, business strategies, retirement planning, or investment management, Adams Wealth Advisors team of CPAs, CFPs, and CFAs will provide the expertise needed to help you reach your financial goals. Visit AdamsWealthAdvisors.com. That's AdamsWealthAdvisors.com for more information or to schedule an appointment.
Honey, the garage door won't close again.
It's the sun hitting the sensors. I just fixed this.
Toilet paper rolls are not a fix. Is there something we can do?
Actually, yeah. Advanced Garage Door has these new sunshades that block direct light from the garage door sensors. Let me give Mason a call.
Is your garage door not closing? We can fix that. Call Advanced Garage Door at 435-255-6725. That's 435-255-6725. Or visit us at advancedgaragedoors.com.
They can put your logo on it because that's what they do at the Logo Shop. They can put your logo on anything from pens and mugs to golf balls and clocks. The Logo Shop is also the place for your team shirts and uniforms. So if your team wants to look good, call the Logo Shop and order your team uniforms today. Colors, logo, and everything else looking just like you want it to. Get your team shirts and uniforms from the Logo Shop. Call them to get a bid or just drop by 40 South Main in Logan.
The Logo Shop. The Logo Stop. The Logo Shop.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Cache Valley's biggest garage sale is tomorrow. It's going to start at 8 a.m., go till about 3. It's going to be at the Eccles Ice Arena parking lot. It's free for anybody to go check out. But it's like hitting 50 different garage sales without ever leaving the parking lot. Bargain Hunter's Dream is going to be a lot of different variety of things for sale. Bounce houses for free for the kids. There's going to be some food trucks on hand. And so if you want more details, you can just go to CacheValleyGarageSale.com. But again, that's tomorrow. And yours truly will be there hanging out. I'll be representing the Cache Valley Media Group. We've got a bunch of stuff out in our storage that we've been trying to clear out and get rid of. So a lot of great deals on a lot of variety of things at this big event. So come check it out tomorrow if you got time between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. So the Utah State men's basketball team adding to their the coaching staff. Jerrod Calhoun adding to his staff. We did get a text earlier in the afternoon about this from 2444. Very interested to see Walsh and Hill coming back to USU under a different staff. Love to hear how that process unfolded, who reached out to whom. Both seemed like great up-and-coming coaches, though. Would be fun to have them on for an off-season interview along with the upcoming players.
That will very likely be happening because the plan is to talk to as many of the players as we can. Probably all of them by the time the season starts, but mixed in there will be interviews with the assistant coaches. We'll probably have Eric Howd on again, Jerrod Calhoun likely, and very likely these two new additions to the staff, or at least maybe one of them. We can't get through everyone on the staff.
Yeah, but Johnny Hill and Curran Walsh returning to Logan. Both spent time here at Utah State previously. Hill was he followed Craig Smith to Utah, and Walsh was with Danny. Excuse me, I had that the other way around.
I was about to say it's the other way around.
I had the other way around. Walsh spent time with Craig Smith, and then Johnny Hill was with Danny Sprinkle. Both of them went off to do different things, and now they're coming back to Logan.
Yeah, so Walsh was, I think, 2 years with Craig Smith, 2019 through the end of the 2021 season. Followed Craig Smith to Utah, as you mentioned, spent 3 years there, but this last year was at Denver as an assistant coach, although he's largely been in the director of player personnel type role or player development role. Slight differences in some of his titles over the year. He's coming back to Utah State as the director of player personnel and analytics. They threw that on the end of his title as well. So he'll be involved in that. And yeah, Johnny Hill, as you mentioned, he came from Montana State where he spent a few years under Danny Sprinkle. Came to Utah State under Danny Sprinkle. Although Sprinkle went to Washington, I don't think he actually kept any of his assistants. I think he pretty much just picked up from elsewhere. I don't know if anyone actually followed him, at least that I remember. And Johnny Hill went to, I suddenly forget where he went to.
University of Illinois, Chicago.
Yeah, Illinois, Chicago. So went there and served in a very similar role, focus on defense, player development. I think even, recruiting and some other things. Just a bunch of different things, a bunch of assistant coach stuff. But yeah, they're both coming back to Utah State. They never served on the same staff with each other, at least at Utah State, I don't think they've ever been on a staff with each other, but both have ties to Utah State. Both were pretty well regarded when they were at Utah State, and now they're going to be back.
Yeah, so that's it's always nice when you have coaches on the staff who understand the culture, understand the geography, understand the history, and have been through it. And look, both on coaching staffs that took teams to the NCAA tournament, who coached very talented players and understand what it means to compete at a high level in the Mountain West and transitioning into the Pac-12.
Yeah, these are successful assistant coaches, and even after they left Utah State, temporarily, as it's turned out, they did pretty well. Like Johnny Hill was on a staff that helped turn around, at least relatively turn around, UIC, where they had one of their first winning seasons in quite a while. I mean, they went 17-15, but a pretty solid season where he was able to help them, kind of reverse some of their fortunes. So yeah, these are two again well-regarded assistant coaches, and they're coming back to coach the Aggies. It'll be interesting to see where Johnny Hill, he's coming in where this isn't going to be the same defensive system they were running when he was here before. But I think, again, you've got two good members of the coaching staff. Again, Curran Walsh, not an assistant coach per se, but part of the staff. And then Johnny Hill, obviously, as an assistant coach. I mean, both should do a good job in helping the Aggies repeat what they did last year and continue the trend of what's been going on for 5, 6, 7 years at this point.
Yeah. Let's see. Did we have another text on this?
I don't think so.
I think that was the only text related to that. We had another text on another topic we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, again, it's nice to have these coaches who are familiar with the area. Some of the comments from Coach Calhoun, just excited for to have them in Logan, back in Logan, and recognizing some of their history, how they became highly recommended by certain people. But he says, Coach Calhoun, when talking about Johnny Hill, says, when trying to establish a staff, I want coaches with great motors who are very well-rounded. Johnny is great with recruiting. He's going to bring a great defensive mind to the program. I also look for guys who want to be head coaches. And I think Johnny's future is very bright. This is a great addition for us. And then talking about Curran, he says that he'll be a great addition as well. Concentrating on the transfer portal and helping out with special projects while also playing a role with scouting. Curran is someone who knows the local community well, and we'll look forward to welcoming him and his fiancée, Morgan.
Yeah, you got to get good minds behind. You got to get guys who are ambitious and work hard. You almost think sometimes you worry about assistant coaches becoming head coaches because that means you're losing them. But if you're losing assistant coaches, it means you've had good assistant coaches.
Yes.
So you want to find those guys that
means you've got a successful program where people want what you're doing.
Yeah, like Nick Saban couldn't stop losing assistant coaches because they were all doing really well, and they'd all go on to be they had varying levels of success when they weren't under Nick Saban. But like you want to get those coaches. So yeah, you might lose them, and you're going to lose a good assistant coach. That happens. It's going to happen to you at some point, and if you're good, it's going to happen to you a lot. But you keep going out there, find yourself good assistants, coaches who are on the up and up, like Eric Howe. He's probably going to go and become a head coach at some point. He's the associate head coach, and he's getting invited to different like conferences and whatnot where they're honoring or targeting like rising assistant coaches. Him and Coach Manny, they both were invited to a recent little conference there. So yeah, they've got good minds, good coaches that are they formed a good staff, and so I think it's one reason to be optimistic is that they've gone out and done the best recruiting they can. They've gone out and found the best coaches that they can. They've had an increased budget for that.
Yeah.
So it should be a good coaching staff.
We knew that. We've known that Coach Calhoun needed to find an assistant. Well, he needed 2 assistants. They were really an assistant down last year. But when we went up and visited with him and they treated us to lunch, he left our meeting to go do some interviews.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I got to do an interview for an assistant coach. So we know that this has been in the works for some time. Frankly, I'm a little surprised it's taken this long since he left our meeting. That was over a month ago to go talk to somebody. And I don't know if it was one of these guys or not. I don't know. He didn't say who it was. But I know that he's been on the lookout for a while. But it's just as important to get somebody on your staff. More important is getting the right person on your staff to do the things that you want, you can delegate to, and trust that it's going to get done the way you need it to get done.
Yeah. Well, one thing when you talk about how long it takes means they got a lot of candidates to sort through.
Yeah, that's true too.
And that tends to mean that just pretty much by rule of the size of the numbers, like if you have more candidates, you're more likely to get good ones,
right?
Theoretically.
All right, another quick timeout here in the Full Court Press. When we come back, the 2 best words in sports. Game 7. That's what we're going to have in the NBA Finals coming up this weekend. But first, we got to talk about Game 6. So we'll do that, hear from some of the coaches and players, and look at what could happen in Game 7 and how long since it's been, since we've had a Game 7. And to look at that coming up on the Full Court Press.
Spend less time at the post office. With Formax and Mint mailing systems from Les Olson IT, you can quickly, accurately, and easily process your outgoing mail and even save on postage. Fold your documents, stuff and seal your envelopes, print addresses, weigh and measure to apply proper postage, all with the click of a button. With multiple model options available, you're sure to find a Formax solution and Mint mailing device that perfectly fits your business needs.
Les Olson IT.
June is the month of Speed Queen. This is Jay with Daryl's Appliance. Our farmer-tested and approved Speed Queen washer is built tough and has a 5-year warranty. Come see why everyone is trading in their front-load washers for these best sellers. Why Daryl's? We have the best price guaranteed and always backed by Daryl's service and warranty team. Have a warranty repair? No problem. When you buy it from Daryl's, we've got you covered. Don't forget to ask about our exclusive rebates. Daryl's, west on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
This is Catherine Buse with Cache Valley Bank, and we understand that concerns about fraud can weigh heavily on you. Your peace of mind is important to us. That's why we're committed to looking out for you and your family. Our team keeps a vigilant eye on your account. If you ever have concerns or need support, we're just a call or visit away. Whether you need advice or just someone to talk to, our friendly staff is ready to help. We're more than just a bank. We're your neighbors, and we care about your security. Visit your local branch today. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Hi, I'm Emily Peterson, founder of Serenoni Luxury Blankets and Gifts. Over 18 years ago, my husband Nathan and I started Serenoni right here in Logan, and we're still here helping you give meaningful gifts that truly comfort. From babies to birthdays, missionaries to moments of healing, our blankets are more than just a blanket. Come shop our new store on 10th West right next to iFit in Logan. Serenoni, bringing comfort, warmth, and connection to you and those you love.
Express Tire.
nationwide warranty on all new tires.
When grid failures and severe weather cause power outages, your business might take a hit, or at home, you could lose your refrigerated food storage. Generac Standby Power Solutions help ensure an uninterrupted power supply. Generac is the #1 brand of standby generators. Get yours today from Golden Spike Electric, your trusted source for safety and security. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gscgenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Mountain Valley Heating and Air is donating HVAC systems, equipment, materials, and installation services to help deserving families who need a little extra support. They need your help. They want you to feel the love as they give away and install 5 new furnace and air conditioners to families in need. So hop on and nominate a family in need today. Just go to mtnvalleyhvac.com, mtnvalleyhvac.com, and click on the Feel the Love tab and nominate a deserving family today. 435-339-0321. That's the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. Did get this text from 8968 earlier. It says, I'll admit that I have not watched any of the NBA Finals. If I'm rooting for anyone, it would be the Pacers, mainly because they were the nemesis of the old Utah Stars.
Rooting for them because they were the nemesis of the Stars, or rooting against them?
If they're the nemesis, shouldn't you root against them?
Yeah, it's the old rivalry.
Yeah.
I think the last championship of the Pacers was in the ABA, I think. I can't remember if they actually won like an NBA title like post-merger, but they were in the old ABA. It was funny because like when I was adding stuff up, like when the last time some of the, like the teams that were in the conference finals, like when was the last time they won a title? And like the most recent one was, you know, like forever. I think it was Oklahoma City back when they were the Sonics in like I think the late 70s. But then like the last time that like the Knicks or the Pacers had won a finals, it was like back in the ABA NBA. I think like the same year, like the Knicks won the NBA and the Pacers won the ABA or something like that.
Huh.
I can't remember. I'm thinking of all that off the top of my head, but yeah, still Game 7, or gotta talk about Game 6, but we have a Game 7 for the first time since 2016, which is, you know, it's pretty special.
Surprising. Yeah, it's been that long since we've had a Game 7 in the NBA.
Yeah.
But there's just some sound from what happened last night. Immediate reactions as the game went final. Then comments from Rick Carlisle, Mike Dagenalt, Pascal Siakam, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Chet Holmgren. So we'll hear from them as wrapping up what happened last night and getting ready for Game 7 on Sunday.
The Indiana Pacers needed to come up with a big win. Tyrese Halliburton was healthy enough to play. And Indiana, in a rout, wins Game 6. And the best 2 words in sport, we'll have a Game 7 to decide the NBA championship on Sunday. The Pacers win it, going away against Oklahoma City.
One game. I mean, this is what it's all about. I mean, this is what you dream about growing up, this kind of opportunity. It's a very difficult place to play. We know that. But the opportunity to play in a game like this is a great honor and a great privilege.
I'll look at it. I mean, obviously it was a very poor performance by us, but there's 2 teams out there. You know, I want to give Indiana credit for the way they defended, the way they competed in the game, the way they played all the way around. You know, they had a lot to do with it. And there was stuff that I thought we could have controlled that could have been better. So we have to own that. We'll look at it. We'll learn from it like we always do. And then we got to obviously be much better going into Game 7.
The way I see it is we suck tonight. We have to learn the lessons. And we have one game for everything we've worked for. And so do they. And the better team Sunday will win.
At this point of the year, I mean, it's all about hard play. I mean, we've played each other enough now where it's like pretty much, I mean, I don't think there's secrets out there like when we play. So I think it's just about who wants it more, like just playing hard and living it all out there on the floor and living with the results. Like I think that's all you can really say.
I'd say it's very similar to
a closeout game in any series. No team's just going to roll over and go home. It's going to be really physical. There's not going to be any favors from the officiating. It's really, you have to make it happen. It's not going to happen by accident. So, we have to learn the lesson from tonight and come back and be better.
So there you go. That's Rick Carlisle, then followed by Mark Daigneault, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Pascal Siakam, and Chet Holmgren finishing it out. And it was interesting to watch how I expected Indiana and its bench to play with energy because it's it's the last game potentially for them. So you lay it all on the line, and not surprised to see them. How hard they played. Rough start, but they really got after it. The surprise to me was how little Oklahoma City had a counterpunch. And they just couldn't really get going. They just seemed flat all night. As good as they've been all year, they've proven that on the road they're a different team. And when they get really challenged, they have a hard time overcoming that.
This is also something that can show up in 7-game series. Is there'll be a game where even if one of the teams is supposed to be decidedly better, 68-14 team versus 50-32, at least regular season record, but one team will just have a good game plan and have that a little bit more pep in their step or whatever it is, energy. It's hard to say that one team wants it more in a particular game, but Indiana came out. Good game plan, good ball movement, really good ball movement, and showcased some of their strengths where, Tyrese Halliburton had that injury, obviously a little bit, where his calf isn't 100%, but for one, Halliburton played pretty decently. He only had to play 23 minutes because of the nature of the game being a bit of a blowout. But he had 14 points and 5 assists in those 23 minutes and had the best plus-minus, on-court plus-minus. Than anybody else in the entire game, his team and obviously Oklahoma City. So, but you have guys like Pascal Siakam, Aaron Nesmith, Obi Toppin coming off the bench for 20 points. TJ McConnell continuing his, kind of, I don't know if I want to say weird, but just kind of like, out of the blue, playing incredibly well for a bench player. It's kind of like that thing where I talk about where you have these random guys contributing to potentially finals winning teams. They're not the stars. They're these random guys either lower in the starting lineup or coming off the bench. And McConnell's kind of being that player for the Pacers. But yeah, they showcase their strength of having a lot of different guys who can go out there and put the ball in the bucket. Oklahoma City's a little more heliocentric with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And he had a good game, but Jalen Williams, 16 points, not super efficient, needed 13 shots to get there. And, not as much bench production outside of Isaiah Joe. So they just didn't seem to have, Chet Holmgren has a really bad game, 2 of 9. Not nearly as impactful as he's been. And, I mentioned Jalen Williams having 16 points, but he was also minus 40 in the game.
Yeah.
In a game that finished with,
After he was so dynamic.
Yeah.
In game 5.
Yeah, which is weird. He's been good this whole series, but he just didn't have a good game. Where you can't just rely on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scoring all the points. But, of course, even with his 21, he had 8 turnovers. So Oklahoma City just didn't have it. But you can't overreact to this and then think, okay, now the Pacers are going to go on and win Game 7 because Oklahoma City is going to go back to the drawing board. They got a couple of days to think and talk about this. And they're going to come back with a good game plan. And then Indiana, they got to assume that whatever they were doing in Game 6, they can't just go back to that because Oklahoma City is going to be ready for that. So they've got to find, you might try some of the stuff you did in Game 6, see if it still works, but be very, very ready to try to make sure you're a step ahead in this chess match. Because 7 games in, both these coaches have thrown just about everything they have. Different tactics, different counters to this. Probably inventing new plays on the fly, different things to try and give themselves any possible advantage. And then Game 7, all right, this is the last one. You don't get another chance after this.
Right. You lay it all on the line, even if you're hurt, because you got a lot of time to recover after this.
Yeah, so you can have a long time everyone eventually makes it to Cancun.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it should be, I think, a fun Game 7. Hopefully it's a close game. I'd love to see a Game 7 buzzer beater or close to buzzer beater in my lifetime. I don't think I've seen one. Seen buzzer beaters in the finals, but I don't think has there ever been a Game 7 buzzer beater?
Game 7 buzzer beater. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's...
Maybe across all the spectrum of time there has been, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at it. But I'd love to see a close game at the end of Game 7. We've had a few good Game 7s. We had a few through the 2010s. There were like 3 or 4 of them in the 2010s. But as we said earlier, it's been since 2016. And that was a fantastic series in its own right. Iconic.
2 more thoughts on this. I just really have enjoyed the play of TJ McConnell in this series for Indiana. It just highlights that, look, if you don't have the physical metrics, if you may not pass the eye test, as some guys that come into the league that unfortunately some scouts get put too much weight on, you can still play hard and still affect the game in lots of different ways. And that's what TJ McConnell has done for this entire series for Indiana. A little undersized, but man, he plays hard. And he was a plus 10 off the bench, 12 points, 4 steals, 6 assists, 9 rebounds. I mean, it seemed like the guy has always been in the right place at the right time for Indiana. And that's only because he works hard.
Yeah.
It's not because he's got some super special athletic ability, long arms or big, leap that he's got can jump out of the gym. He's just somebody that constantly works hard, studies the game, and understands where he needs to be to help his team the most.
Yeah, if you work hard, and of course you got to apply yourself, because if TJ McConnell just worked hard at whatever, it doesn't necessarily translate. But you work hard and apply your skills. You're 6'1", 190 pounds. That's hard to make it in the NBA, but you can if you have the skills, and if you can work hard and put yourself in the right position, that can overcome a lot of barriers. And it obviously has for him. And I think you look at Sam Merrill. That was a guy who was pegged as he's kind of got NBA size at coming out about 6'4", barefoot, 6'5", 6'6" in shoes. But it's like, and he can shoot, but like he got picked last in the draft because there's this assumption that he didn't have all of the physical tools. But you look at what he's done, applied himself, become a really good 3-point shooter, one of the better 3-point shooters.
And an improving defender, too.
Yeah, and an improving defender. Like, he still doesn't have the physical tools to be like an elite defender, but when you apply yourselves and you apply, a basketball IQ, because he's had a really good basketball IQ going back to Utah State, some of the things he was able to do there. And he's able to apply himself to be what will now be a fairly sought-after free agent, mind you, kind of a low-paid free agent, but still a sought-after among contenders who are looking to add that key bench piece. And so there's multiple examples of these kind of players that you mentioned don't have the physical attributes, but make it work anyway.
And then the other one, Tony Bradley. I mean, he was a cast-off from the Utah
Tony
Jazz.
Bradley plays for the Pacers? How did I not notice that?
Yes, he's had some pretty impactful games and moments for them. Now, he only had 3 points last night, 2 rebounds. He joined the team on a 10-day contract in March, and they gave him a second 10-day contract, which extended him long enough for them to keep him on their roster. He's only earning $330,000 this year
only
for basketball, which, according to you and I, that's great. But his teammate, Tyrese Halliburton, he earns more than that every single game that he plays. So we're living in a world, in a time where Tony Bradley has more points, rebounds, and minutes in an NBA Finals than Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert combined. And I never thought I would live in that universe, but here we are. Tony Bradley is making, and look, that's just another story of hard work and betting on yourself. He had an opportunity. I was reading his story today. He had an opportunity to go overseas, but instead chose to go to a G League team. It was only going to earn about $40,000 just to continue to work on his game to try to get another opportunity in the NBA. And it paid off. Indiana picked him up in early March, and they've decided to hold on to him. And here he is playing meaningful minutes on a team in the finals going to Game 7.
Just saying, and Nehemiah Queta also has more minutes and points and whatnot in the finals than Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert.
This is true. Anyway, so the Game 7 is coming up This is going to be on Sunday on ABC, and the game tips off at 6 o'clock Mountain Time. Quick timeout. We'll be right back with some final thoughts here on the Full Court Press.
The Sportsman on Main Street is loaded with great clothing, shoes, and equipment. This is Mark inviting you to come in and check out our awesome store. For 71 years, we have outfitted you, whether you are going on the trail or to the theater. Trust me, you won't see yourself coming and going as we work hard to have some of the most unique clothing and shoes you will see anywhere. If it's a bike, skis, or a unique clothing and shoes, I promise we will take care of you only at the Sportsman on Main Street in historic downtown Logan with tons of free parking in the back.
Girls, insist he take you to Jerrod's. Picking out your wedding ring is an experience you will never forget. Come to a place where the mood is right and the setting is perfect for romance. Jerrod's Fine Jewelry in Logan. The perfect collection of memorable designs, classic creation, and modern marvels. If you want an intimate, romantic experience you will never forget, then insist he takes you to Jerrod's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jerrod's at 930 North Main in Logan.
Jerrod's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jerrod's.
Need a reliable partner for your medical needs? Look no further than Triton Medical and Transportation. We offer top quality medical soft goods right here in your community. From incontinence supplies and oxygen needs to medical transportation. Whatever you need to stay comfortable and healthy, we've got you covered. Trust Triton Medical and Transportation, caring for our community with every step, every mile. Call us today at 435-557-6687 or visit us online at mytritonsupply.com. Triton Medical and Transportation, because your health matters.
The patio is open. The chips are endless. Drinks on tap. You know it's got to be Cafe Sabor. Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant, gold winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. That's a complete lunch for just $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and massive burrito, just $7.95. The patio, the sun, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th Weston Center in Logan.
Hi, this is Robbie with LSS Insurance. If you're about to turn 65, the Medicare phone calls, mailers, and emails can be unreal. Out-of-market telemarketers simply do not understand Utah, Idaho, or your individual situation. We have real answers and real solutions with local help. At LSS Insurance, we are your health insurance specialists. Call us 752-9493. Having local help makes all the difference, and there's no cost to you. Call 752-9493 or visit lssins.com.
Rely now on a York Affinity Premium Comfort System to keep your home cool and comfortable. The new Affinity systems are smarter and more connected and more efficient than ever before. And you can cut your energy costs by as much as 50%. Call Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, your local York dealer, to schedule a free system evaluation. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning showroom is west of DI and online at advancedheating-ac.com.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
If you want to make sure your batteries can handle this hotter weather for your vehicle.
Thankfully, it's going to cool down this weekend.
That's true. It's hot now, but it is cooling for this weekend, thank goodness. But it'll warm back up again. Go into Napa Auto Parts. They'll check to make sure if your battery even needs to be replaced or not. They do have great deals on Napa Legend and Napa AAA batteries because you can get a $25 rebate on Bosch lithium-ion batteries. Go check that out at any of your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores from Preston to Providence. Got a text here from 8968 during the break. Jerry West was a few inches short of a full court shot against the New York Knicks to win the game. If it were a few years later, that would have been a game winner. I guess at the time there was no 3-point shot. So that was about 1969 or 1970.
Next, we're talking about buzzer-beating game-winning shots in Game 7 of the finals. Of course, I was just scrolling through Twitter, and apparently Jerry West, speaking of him, apparently has a scoring record in Game 7. Had 42 points in a game in 19... Man, maybe it was that same game. He scored 42 points in a Game 7. Of course, they lost to the Celtics because in the 60s, the Celtics always won the finals because Bill Russell, but, you know.
Yes.
But, yeah, we're going to have I think it's going to be it's been a fun series. If a series goes to 7, it's a good series. I don't think... even if every game is a blowout, I think you can still call it a good series because in that sense, even if they're blowouts every time, it's a back and forth affair, and you can kind of enjoy the drama of in seeing which teams are getting a foot ahead, and then you come to Game 7, it's like, all right, who wins this one? Maybe it's anticlimactic in the moment, but you can still get a good series. But we've had close games. This has been one of the best basketball series I've followed because you've had mostly close games. 2 have been blowouts, but mostly close games. And it's going to Game 7. I don't know what more you can ask for.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And it's fun to see some of these unheralded players to the regular season become stars in the postseason and in these finals. And I hope we're up for a treat. I hope it's not a blowout and a boring game. But when it's the last game, you throw it all on the line. Who knows? We'll see. And I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be interesting. Sunday at 6 o'clock. That'll do it for us tonight here in the Full Court Press. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you back here again on Monday.